Hey guys, Rambo here with another Dead Ops Arcade 3 video, where I'll be talking a bit about a recent match I played where my teammate Rios and myself made it to round 208, which is currently the highest round achieved in the game. Usually when it comes to high rounds, I'll sometimes upload raw gameplay to my YouTube channel, but I figured it'd be something a bit different to record a commentary and maybe give some insight into a match like this one, for those who might be curious about how high rounds work for a game mode like DOA. So before this match, it had actually been a couple of months since I last played a super long match on DOA. The last lengthy game I played was a 4-player match where we ended up tying what was then the record at round 197, before everyone in the match unfortunately disconnected. As you could imagine, that was a pretty disappointing conclusion to that match. So anyways, I was streaming on my Twitch late last Friday night, and my friend Rios messaged me on Discord saying, "Play 2-player now, easy world record." To which I responded, "Send the damn invite." Thus began a match that consisted of nearly 40 hours of gameplay across the weekend. 40 hours, Rambo, how do you do it? What do you take breaks? Well, yeah, you just stop at the end of rounds if you want to take a break. Also, don't ask me what profile picture Rios has here, because I have no clue, and frankly, I don't want to know. So we end up starting the match, and in 2-player games, you don't need any luck with Margwas and Deadly Dungeons, because you could just get whatever fate you want later on in the Room of Judgment. So naturally, it was no surprise that we ended up getting both a Firepower Stone and a Furious Feet Stone in 2 of the Deadly Dungeons, which is something that would typically take multiple hours of restarts to get in a 3-player match where you would want something like that to happen. In 2-player matches, the meta is typically to have both players with the Firepower and Furious Feet combo. The ability to move quickly and shoot a strong weapon typically triumphs other Fate setups for solo and 2-player, and also the Firepower's ability to start the player at red weapons is underrated too, as upgraded explosive weapons are crucial in later rounds for building points and surviving. In 4-player matches, you have a lot more variety in terms of what fates you could potentially take, as all 6 fates have value there, and you could get a bit creative in how you mix and match them. In any case, for players like Rios and myself, we've been at this for a while, right? We've been playing high rounds since 2011, a solid decade. So the early rounds are typically pretty boring. One way that we like to spice things up in the early rounds though is to try getting a huge score or not take too many deaths. Any good high round player could be maxed out on lives and armory for most of the earlier rounds in the game. So the one way to differentiate your game, or to keep it competitive for yourself at least, is to try keeping large score multipliers as much as possible. Also, another way of keeping the match interesting on co-op is to set some sort of goal, like minimal life stealing. In co-op matches, sometimes you have situations where one player is doing most of the work and pretty much carrying everyone else on the team. And it's understandable why that sometimes happens, as you might not have the best teammates, or it's just the easier route to take on certain arenas. But for something like this 2-player match, we really wanted to make sure that we had minimal life stealing and we didn't boost, quote unquote. So we ended up making it all the way until round 194 before one of us was on the ground reviving, and we were able to quickly get back on our feet by the following round, and then go up until round 207 until one of us revived again, mostly due to the sheer difficulty of that particular arena. Anyways, some people in the YouTube comment section or on my Twitch chat sometimes ask about how long the rounds take in DOA as you progress. The rounds are essentially time-based on DOA, and will scale after each time you beat the Mama Bag boss fight. So rounds 65 to 128, or what people sometimes call 2.0 since it's your second playthrough of those arenas, each round takes roughly 6 to 8 minutes apiece. Then on rounds 129 to 192, or 3.0, round length is approximately 12 to 16 minutes each. This is in line with the previous DOA games, as there appears to be a pattern of sorts where the average round length doubles each time you beat the boss fight, except on this game, after completing round 192, the round length doesn't seem to scale all that much, as it starts off at only 17 minutes, rather than something like 24 minutes. It's almost like it's a continuation of 3.0 round lengths, but I'm certainly not complaining, as shorter rounds are always welcome that deep into a match, and especially when it's made up for by the difficulty ramping up in 4.0 arenas, where special enemies are, well, not so special, as they are thrown at you quite commonly. I mean, look at the darn minimap over here. It's flooded with elite enemy icons. During these rounds, we were playing pretty well and had a bunch of lives and armory going into the Mausoleum 4.0 arena, or rounds 205 to 208. Perhaps the craziest part about this arena, apart from the non-stop close quarters high octane action, is the fact that it has so many different names given to it by the community. Mausoleum is the official name for the arena, but it's also called Stairs by a few people, because there are some stairs on the map. Some people also call it Coliseum or Coliseum, depending on your preferred spelling. And that name stems from its visual similarities to the super small DOA 2 arena, which people called Coliseum, even though that wasn't the official name for that arena. And then finally, if Coliseum is too tough for you to say, some people just abbreviate this arena to Coli, not to be confused with E. coli, which I contracted while being spat on by a megaton. But yeah, the game is definitely a bit of a grind for high rounds. You definitely need the secret third fate of mental fortitude to help you get by some of the stretches of rounds in the game. But overall, it's pretty fun to do high rounds when I'm streaming them on Twitch and there's people hanging out and supporting the channel. Because when I first started doing DOA games back in 2011, 2012, I wasn't streaming it. I didn't have anyone watching. It was just me and my teammates hanging out for a few days if the match was really long. And we got through it just fine. We didn't have any recognition for it. It was just something we did as part of a very small community. And not that the community has grown very large nowadays, but it is nice to see how it has evolved and grown in some ways. And not to sound dramatic, but as I got older, these lengthy DOA matches took a bit of a toll on me. And I tried playing less and less of them as time went on. After I released the DOA documentary in late 2018, I sort of made an oath not to play any more high round games or upload content related to DOA unless a DOA 3 ever came out. I followed through with that vow for the most part, as I didn't play the game at all throughout all of 2019, and was pretty much ready to move on from the game in general. Then in early 2020, of course, COVID happened, and when that first started, it put some things into perspective, and also a lot of people came back into the community since they were home so often, so I decided to make a return as well. I thought to myself, why am I trying to get some sort of personal record here where I could see how many months I could go without playing the game? Like, why am I doing this? Who cares? And around this time as well, I had a lingering feeling that DOA 3 was going to be included in Cold War. So I sort of had that to look forward to and decided that I was going to invest in content for the game and give it one last go. See what happens with DOA by focusing on YouTube and Twitch and so forth. And not that it paid off entirely. I'm not some huge streamer or YouTuber. Far from it. Obviously, there's a very limited audience with a niche game mode like DOA, but it is a pleasure to play this game 7 months after its initial release, and to have, close to 100 people tune into the round 192 boss fight at midnight. It is a nice thing to see, and to sort of help build and be a part of a small community like that, I think is really special. In any case, that about wraps up the commentary. This record will definitely be broken at some point in the near future. But for now, I suppose we're at the tippity top of the mountain, but only halfway up. Think about it and have a good one.
Was Castro involved?